Hi, everyone. This is Andrew Fazekas, the Night Sky Guy. Thanks so much for joining me on my Friday Find show. It is currently November 18th, Friday. Yes, end of the week. Thank goodness it's Friday. Thanks so much. I see you. Please put in where you're watching from. I love to see you guys put in the comments where you are. I see John is from Minnesota. Thanks for joining. This is sort of like my kind of end of the week kind of look at some of the space news that caught my eye this week. First off, why don't we then dive right in? I want to show you first off the beautiful image I posted on my Facebook channel today page. This latest image from the Artemis mission. You can see here, it's a black and white from their nav cam. Just gorgeous image. It's on its way to the moon. And they did announce that, which is really going to be interesting, is that the Artemis mission is going to be skimming the surface of the moon just about approximately 80 miles above the surface of the moon. This is going to happen on November 21st, so this Monday. And they're going to actually have live coverage of this powered flyby around the moon on Monday morning at 7:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's when their coverage will occur. The burn occurs at 7:44 a.m. and Orion's closest approach occurs shortly after 7:57 a.m. Eastern Time. So I think this is going to be really interesting for us to be able to tune in. I'm hoping, as I think a lot of you guys are, that we will see close-up images of the moon, perhaps some really good footage. So that is something really worthwhile. There was this other really great image that was released. Let me see if I can find it on my time. This particular one, really impressive. It's a lot of people, over 35,000 people, really liked this particular image, colored. This was when Orion capsule was 1/5 the way to the moon, taken 2 days after launch, or actually, sorry, 1 day after launch. And this image, this other newest image in black and white by the NavCam, is taken 2 days after launch. So this was taken Thursday, late Thursday afternoon Eastern time. And if you want to see, this is basically how the mission is unfolding. You can see the launch right here. And showing that the capsule itself, with its solar panels open, is traveling along to the moon. It's called the Trans-Lunar Injection Maneuver, and this is where it's outbound towards the moon, and then it'll be orbiting the moon, go past the moon, and orbit the moon. And this is going to be really interesting because Orion will at one point be even much farther away than the moon, farther than any of the Apollo missions actually went around the moon. And it'll be the farthest craft, human crew-rated craft ever to travel from Earth. And it's going to be really neat to be able to see some footage from that. So I'm staying tuned for that, probably next week sometime. Late next week, that would be, or the week after, because they're going to be coming back. The capsule will splash down on December 11th off the coast of California on December 11th. So it will be interesting to see the imagery that comes through. Another really neat story that I really liked was, because it speaks to my, I guess, space nerdiness, is the Perseverance Mars rover. A new release came out yesterday, November 17th. This is the press release at NASA. NASA's Perseverance rover investigates intriguing Martian bedrock. So, of course, just to recap, this is in the Jezero crater where the rover, which is really designed to look for evidence of life, past life, is at the bottom of the crater, the basin of this crater, which was once we think filled with water. And so that's what this imagery right here is really showing. Let me see if I can get a better picture. I think this is probably the better picture that we can look at. You can see detail. There's the on the left hand side, you can see one of the wheels of the rover. You can see the horizon. If I scoop up here, you can see, once I've scrolled there, there's the edge, the rim of the crater. You can see many miles away. And you can see a close-up view of the bedrock here. Now, what's interesting, it's a sediment-rich location, they say, and it's a Mars Delta region, meaning that this is a place where water kind of flowed out onto the base of this crater. We think probably at least 1 billion years ago this happened. So there was a lot of water in the ancient history of Mars. So the rover has begun to explore this area. They call this area Yori Pass, and it's near the base of the Jezero crater's ancient river delta. They've been eager to explore the region for several months after spotting a rock similar to the one Perseverance collected samples from in July. So just to recap here also, is what we're talking about is actual sample collection, scooping up bits and pieces of the rock and soil from Mars, and it is storing it, the rover is, at the belly of the rover. Okay, so at the underbelly of the rover is where all these samples, and so far there's 14 samples that they have collected. They think this area right here is very tantalizing, right here, this area, because it is sandstone, and it's composed of fine grains that have been carried from elsewhere by water before settling and forming stone. So maybe this was mud, maybe this was some organic matter or something that was deposited at the bottom of this crater billions of years ago when water was flowing here. It's amazing to think. And so what happened to all that water, right? We don't know. We don't know what happened to that. But we're going to be sampling this. And this is a really neat video that shows us how that sample return will happen. So check this out. It's worth looking at. It's only 1.5 minutes. Sample return mission arriving at the location of the rover. Look, the rover Perseverance comes up to the new spacecraft, takes out the sample tubes, puts them into the return spacecraft robotically. Very nice. Loads it up. Solar panels. Whoa, very cool. Wow. That is super cool. All this on Mars. Remember, this is happening on Mars. This is the animation of what we think we would like to happen. This is how the samples that the Perseverance rover has been collecting will come back for us to study. There's the sample return rocket docks with orbiting spacecraft, and that orbiting spacecraft conducts a burn, a thruster burn, goes to Earth, and then you can see a heat shield protected module with a heat shield comes back to Earth. Wow. Okay, that's really cool. Love that. It's a NASA European Space Agency program. So that is what we hope will be happening, I guess, with the samples that the Perseverance rover is collecting. So after it collects samples here, where this place, what we're talking about now, there's going to be a sample collection again. So this will be, I guess, the 15th sample that Perseverance is collecting. It's going to drive 745 feet southeast to a mega sand ripple located in the middle of a small dune field. The ripple, called Observation Mountain by the science team, is where the rover will collect its first samples of regolith, or crushed rock, and dust. So I guess they're going to get as many different kinds of samples as possible. So this is really cool. Sampling of Mars, amazing. And we're going to be getting that probably in a few years. So stay tuned for more on that, the sample return mission, definitely. I'm going to plop this particular press release in for you guys so you can look at it yourself and read all about it. There you go. That's what I'm talking about. So what else caught my eye? Well, I love this. This is, again, another something from the Webb Space Telescope. Really neat. Webb draws back curtain on universe's early galaxies. So what we're talking about here is some of the earliest galaxies to have actually been formed in the universe just after the supposed Big Bang, right? So this is really the final frontier in terms of our views of the universe. This is close up what we're talking about. And what we're referring to, this whole thing, all of the stuff that you're seeing here are galaxies, except for this one up here that's sparkling, and this one, these are stars within our own Milky Way. They're close to us. But all these other lights, these red, orangish colored little blobs and white blobs, they're all galaxies, just like our Milky Way. They're basically islands of millions to billions of stars. And then what Webb discovered, the Webb Space Telescope, is right in these little boxes. There's one here, and then there's one also here, and they enlarged them. Right there, you can see 1 and 2. These two galaxies are unbelievable. They are probably about 13.4 billion light years away. Now, we think the universe came into being from, of course, the Big Bang, which we think happened in 13.8 billion years ago. So we're talking about somewhere around 400 million years after the Big Bang is what we're seeing. This is a picture of a galaxy, a baby galaxy, basically, with probably the very first stars that turned on in the universe that make up that little blobs. This little blob over here, and then this little blob over here, right there. Those are probably one of the first galaxies ever to exist in the universe, and we're seeing that ancient fossilized light travel for 13.4 billion years to reach our eye. So we're looking back in time. That's amazing, because if you think of the age of our planet, the Earth is about 4.5 billion years old. Our sun is about 5 billion years old. So this is more than, way more than 2 times that age here, the light that we're talking about. So what also caught their attention in this press release is that they're very bright. They find these galaxies are unusually bright for their distance. And they think this is because of very intense star forming that's going on inside these galaxies. Very, very intense. And what this is telling us is that stars really, turned on very quickly. Maybe they say that these galaxies right here, they say these galaxies would have had to have started coming together maybe just 100 million years after the Big Bang. I know that sounds like a lot, 100 million years after the Big Bang. But remember, right now, as we're sitting here in the time of the space-time of the universe, it's 13.8 billion years, right? 1,308, billion years. So nobody expected that the Dark Ages would have ended so early. Dark Ages meaning before anything turned on, like any stars turned on. The primal universe would have been just 1/100th of its current age. It's a sliver of time in the 13.8 billion year old evolving cosmos. How cool is that? That's what we're looking at, those little tiny blobs right there. So I'm going to put a link to this in the chat right here in the comments, so you guys can go ahead and read it yourself. Bingo. What else? Oh yeah, before I go, all of these other galaxies, that we looked at, these little guys that are boxed in, right? But all of these other galaxies that we're talking about is part of a cluster of galaxies that are in the foreground. They're about 5 billion light years away. That's the foreground. Most of these galaxies that you see here, these blobs. And this is part of a cluster, a giant galaxy cluster called Abell 2744. And I just wanted to share with you guys where it is in the sky. There's actually a place in the sky where all this action's happening, where this latest news release. And it is, if you look up in the sky tonight, this is set around what time here? I've got it around 9:30 or 10 o'clock at night. And I'm halfway between the North Pole and the equator, so 45-degree latitude. So some of these things are a little bit higher up, some are a little bit lower in your skies, depending on where you are in the world. But what's really cool is all of this galaxy cluster is located in the constellation Sculptor right here. And it's a kind of a southern constellation. So those of you in the southern hemisphere, this is an easier sight. But it's kind of between Cetus, the monster whale, and Aquarius, the water bearer constellations right there. And this is where it is. PGC 47, blah, 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 that you see here. That's just one of the galaxies, one of those blobs, right? One of these blobs that brighter blobs like this one probably is what that designates. But basically all of that is happening in that little piece of sky is where the Webb Space Telescope looked. And it's just underneath. You want to know where it is? Look for this bright star-like object tonight. It's called Jupiter. It's a planet, not a star. It's the brightest star-like object that's in our evening skies right now. And it's in the southwest mid-evening tonight. And or any night next week, or the week after, you'll see it, and it's just underneath that planet that this is. In fact, let me see if I take a measuring tool. It's about 28 degrees. So how far away? If you take your hand, you can see me here in the little corner there. If you do this with your hand and you stretch it out, okay. Stretch out your arm like that, and you look at the distance between here, your thumb and your pinky. That's about 25 degrees apart. And so just do that, and then put Jupiter around where your pinky or your thumb is, whichever you want. And then the one that's lower there, that's about the distance that separates Jupiter and this galaxy cluster that we're talking about, that the James Webb Space Telescope just looked at. Really incredible stuff. Now, there's one more thing I wanted to talk about. Yes, there is one more thing, and that is related to the Leonid meteor shower. I took this picture last night, and I announced to everybody, and I wasn't the only one. My friends at Sky and Telescope, where I actually looked at the timing of a possible outburst, had an error, and so I propagated that error by accident. So excuse me for that. And really, the outburst is tonight. Yay, we get a second chance. So if you got clouded out yesterday, yay, tonight's the night. So so just to backtrack, the Leonid meteor shower, let me show you where that is, all that action is happening in our skies. Let me just show that in my planetarium program. So the Leonid meteor shower is, like the name implies, is associated with the Leo constellation, where these meteors appear to be radiating out from. So if you kind of take the individual shooting stars that you'd see tonight and kind of trace it back, each streak of light, you'd notice that they all kind of originate from one spot in the sky, and that's occupied by the constellation Leo, the lion. Right there, rising late at night, around midnight, local time, wherever you are, midnight, you'll see it rising in the east, Leo. And it has one bright star called Regulus, marks the heart of the lion. Very easy to see, even in light-polluted locations. And so that is the location of where all these beautiful meteors are originating from. Now, what's cool this year, usually we see about 15, 20 shooting stars per hour. But and yesterday I saw 3 in the course of about a half hour. But that's going to ramp up now, because tonight, instead of 15 to 20, they think we might be in store for an outburst. And an outburst like this, they think, is caused by a giant, basically a dead comet that left a big debris cloud that Earth is smashing into. And there's one forecaster, an astronomer, who studies these kind of meteor showers and seeing where the dense parts are, is predicting that we're going to go through one of these dense clouds tonight. and it's going to center around 1 a.m. Eastern time. That is the key for this one. 1 a.m. Eastern time is when this is going to potentially uptick into something like 200 to 300 shooting stars per hour. Isn't that incredible? I think that's really neat. So get outside. If it's clear tonight, maybe go out around 12 to between 12 o'clock midnight into 2 o'clock in the morning to see this outburst potentially. It's centered around 1 a.m. Eastern time. So it really favors the eastern side of North America. They are really favored for this because of the timing. It's late at night and it's really the darkest, and you might see more of the meteors. Now, what you will have to contend with is the moon. So there is the crescent waning moon right now in the sky at the foot of Leo the Lion, and that is something you might have to contend with. So my recommendation is turn your back to the moon. If you turn your back to the moon, you should keep your eyes dark adapted, and you won't have to worry about losing any of the fainter meteors. And who knows? There's no guarantee that we'll have this outburst of 200-300 meteors, but hey, we won't know unless we go outside, right? So let's try. It's worth going out. It's a Friday night. Most of us don't have to work on Saturday, so which is great. So maybe you could sleep in. But I know if it's clear for me here in Montreal, I'll be going out, even if it's cold. Yesterday it was like -7 last night, and I still went outside and had some fun looking at some fireballs for sure. So that's it for this week, guys. That's it for Friday Fine. And before I go, just a reminder, I've got my book, brand new book, Stargazer's Atlas, The Ultimate Guide to the Night Sky. It's published by National Geographic. I'm the lead author on this book. It's a fantastic collection of topics related to humanity's connection to the night sky. And it covers literally the entire sky, from northern and southern hemisphere equally, all 88 constellations, sky maps galore, beautiful imagery of archaeoastronomy sites here on Earth, destinations where you can do astrotourism around the world, dark sky preserves, the science behind a lot of the latest missions that are out there. Really cool stuff that you can go around and see for yourself. Pack your bags and do an astronomy vacation. This book is 6.5 pounds of cosmic knowledge, and I'm selling dedicated, personally signed copies. So you can go to my website, thenightskyguide.com. There's a link right there. I'll put it in the chat here so you guys have it as well, so you don't have to go and search for it. And if you're interested, it makes a great holiday gift, and I ship internationally. I have a few more copies left for sale, and I may have some more sales coming up of my other books potentially. I'll see. I'll keep you guys updated for that as I get information. So with that, Friday's done. Weekend's coming up. Hopefully we can all do some stargazing. I'll be watching the space news for you. Don't forget to join me on Monday for my Night Sky This Week, where I'll give you a rundown of what my picks are for what you could see in the skies wherever you are around the world. It doesn't matter where you are. I'll cover everything there. Thanks so much. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Please do subscribe, whether you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, on Twitter. It means a lot, your support. Thank you so much, and have a great weekend. And until next time, clear skies. Bye-bye.